All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Blair with FranNet, and like I mentioned a minute ago, I'm going to be your main host. Today's workshop is webinar is designed around financing for a small business or a franchise. This line is being recorded, and we will send all of you that are attending a copy of this presentation. So not only will you have the audio, but you'll have all the slides as well for your use in the future. We have BG's from Guidant Financial on the line as well. She's going to be handling the direct presentation in regards to financing. So financing is one of the biggest questions we are always asked. A lot of people look and want to go into business, but then kind of one of the big questions is, well, how am I going to pay for this? So there are going to be several options that Guidant Financial is going to go over to just kind of shed some light on what are all the different ways to financing a business. I think some of them will actually surprise you. And so, like I said, this is one of the most often questions we are asked. So this is actually a webinar that we do just about once a month to kind of help our current and future clients learn about franchise and business financing. First, a little bit about FranNet and myself. So I've been in franchising now for just about my entire professional career, 20 plus years in the franchise industry. I've owned the Pacific Northwest and Southern California for FranNet now for close to all that 20 years. FranNet, we have helped thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the past 30 years purchase franchises. In fact, no other company has helped more people purchase a franchise than us. And it's really neat to watch our clients go from the beginning stages, who kind of have this dream of always wanting to own their own business, then literally 2 to 4 months down the road, they're in business, or at least they have found the business that they want to do. It's always neat to watch people go through that process. I'm also the vice chairman of the parent company. There are 4 of us that own the parent company of FranNet. Believe it or not, FranNet is a franchise. We don't have any more franchise for sale. People ask us that all the time. But we actually franchised FranNet about 10 years ago. My kind of kickstart into franchising, though, back in the late 1980s was with a company called Mailboxes, Etc. A lot of people knew it as MBE. It's now known as the UPS Store. We were called the master franchisees for that company back in the mid to late 80s into the early 90s. So that's kind of how I learned franchising many, many, many years ago. We sold the company to UPS back in 1996, and then that's when I got started with FranNet. So FranNet has about 120 different associates to help people learn about franchising. A lot of people start their research with us by attending one of our general workshops, kind of a franchising 101 workshops. And then I'll kind of go into that a little bit later. But there's a couple other groups that we work with very closely. One is the Small Business Administration. And underneath the Small Business Administration, there's 2 great groups. One is called SCORE, Service Corps Retired Executives. The other one is the Small Business Development Centers. They have offices in just about every community. And it's the government's arm to help you get into business. Now, what's nice about FranNet, the Small Business Administration, is that our services are free to you. We are paid by all the companies, franchisors out there to help you. And so the easiest way to describe kind of what we do is think of us as kind of the Match.com for franchising. It's the easiest way I can think of explaining it. So we're, like I said, paid by all the corporations. You're more than welcome to write us a check, but you don't have to because we are free to you. A lot of people ask, how do our clients do once they are in business? Well, what you're looking at here, and this slide is actually a little bit dated. We're in the middle of getting the new statistical data. This slide is about 2 to 3 years old right now. But what you can see is that 91% of our clients still own their businesses after 2 years compared to 64% who do it on their own. After 5 years, 85% of our clients still own their businesses compared to 50% on their own. And the statistic down the lower left is one of the statistics that we're most proud of, and that is about 15% of our clients become what we call the top performers within their companies. In other words, the match that we made with their clients with the franchise that they end up purchasing was so accurate that they become one of the top franchisees within that system. And our clients look at multiple franchises at any given point in time, so they're kind of comparing and contrasting along the way. So what we're going to cover today, and we'll be about, my guess, about 30 to 45 minutes long. we're going to kind of cover, hey, what does it actually cost to start a business or a franchise? So what are the real costs? And then I'm going to turn the reins over to Guidant Financial or BGs to kind of give you all the different possibilities of how to properly finance a business, and then we'll talk about next steps. So what you'll see out there is that what you're looking here is going to the percentage of franchise that fall within those what we call total turnkey cost ranges. So as you can see, the vast majority of businesses out there cost less than $250,000. I would say our average client right now, I would say it's about $180,000 to $200,000 average investment right now. Now, what you'll learn, and this kind of surprises most people, is that there is zero correlation between the cost of the franchise and how much money it can make. Now, that is very contrary to what most people believe, because most people believe, hey, the more money I invest in a business, probably the more money it's going to make, and that is totally untrue here. So this is something that is actually in your favor, and don't feel like you have to spend a lot of money on a franchise to make a lot of money. And some of the most successful clients that I've seen over the past 20 years are the ones that purchase some of the most affordable franchises out there. And the reason why that is they purchase what we call service-based franchises, and they require far less capital and usually yield higher returns. So that's a little bit about franchising on the finance side. So I'm going to turn the reins over to BGs with Guidant Financial, who's going to get into more chunk down detail on all the different possibilities of how to finance a business or a franchise. So BGs, the group is yours.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Blair, for the introduction and everybody on the call today. Before we get started here, I just want to share a little bit about myself and then also Guidant Financial as an organization. Assuming I have controls here. There we go. I'm BGs. Prior to joining Guidant, I served as a general manager for a chain of tanning salon franchises. And before that, I worked in sales and marketing for a independent fitness club. Since I joined Guidant in 2011, I've worked as a client coordinator, client consultant, and currently am an account manager. I absolutely love seeing the new creative concepts that enter into the franchise market, but I also really appreciate and admire the long-standing brands that continue to remain strong and profitable year after year. And just if anybody's wondering, I'm also currently recovering from the news that Marshawn has retired. But my wounds will heal over time, just not there yet. So, all right. Now, to give you a feel about Guidant, we are a privately held company based out of Washington State. Our co-founder and CEO, David Nilsson, has been a featured speaker at over 350 national and international events, covering topics from entrepreneurship to small business financing. In 2007, the Small Business Administration named him the National Young Entrepreneur of the Year. And the Puget Sound Business Journal named him one of the top 40 business people under 40. In both 2008 and 2009, he was a finalist for the coveted Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award. So yeah, a little bit about us. Now, we currently have about 100 heads here in the office, and though we all operate under one roof, we help finance clients in all 50 states. All right. Now, I don't want to bore you with this page here, but you can find all of our credentials, awards, recognition, and profiles on our website. Also, this deck will be available to anyone if you'd like, a copy for your own. Just let me know after the webinar. So let's start with some of the facts as to why Guidant feels access to capital is in fact on the rise. We've seen various increases overall in financing for small businesses. Though we see an uptick in angel and venture capital investments, the most relevant to franchising is going to be SBA-backed lending. We'll be coming out with some updated numbers as well for 2015. But based on 2014 statistics, though the capital we see is rising in the marketplace, we are seeing less entrepreneurs feel that they have found or could find adequate access to the kind of capital that they need. One reason we believe that is, especially for first-time buyers, is most individuals feel that they can easily finance their franchise using their local bank. The reality behind that is that long-term relationships with your local branch doesn't give a whole lot of advantage to a first-time business owner looking for business financing. SBA transactions are just not on the top of the list for lenders, especially the larger banks. So our role here at Guidant is to prepare, package, and support you as a candidate with your loan from start to finish, and with access to over 3,000 lenders. But we'll be sure that you as a candidate are in front of only the right banks with all the necessary information. So keeping in mind we have many programs available in addition to SBA, which we'll cover today. Since our inception, we've actually helped 10,000 entrepreneurs invest $3 billion into small business and franchising. Brand Data just wrapped up a project for us, which we asked for help understanding who the top 7 SBA lenders in the country are based on the number of loans and loan amounts. And as you can see, the top SBA lender in the country produced 3,900 loans to the tune of $1.5 billion. We were surprised to learn that if you compare Guidant as an originator of capital to this list of lenders, we would have ranked number 5 for the number of small businesses that we served in 2014, and 6 in terms of overall capital that was deployed. So in other words, we've become very good at helping individuals access their capital. So historically, Guidant has made its mark in an acquisition-based financing, and that's where it will continue to invest a majority of our time. But it's difficult for us to go into any organization, any franchise system, and move towards exclusive relationships if we can't meet all the needs of the franchisees. And as we look beyond 2015, we know that in order to have the impact we want on the small business market, we had to provide more services to our franchise partners. Now the options you see listed here, the options that we use or we have seen used the most are towards the top 3, or the top 3 on that list there. For the rest, the options to the right more so cater to existing businesses, business owners looking for faster access for growth purposes, as well as crisis capital. Now I'd also like to mention that we have become the largest franchise financing firm in the U.S., and as an organization we will continue to grow rapidly. We really take pride in the number of jobs that we have seen created because of the number of entrepreneurs that we have served in the market. So let's focus where we see the vast majority of our clients pursue with all these different avenues available, that being through ROBS, SBA, and unsecured lines of credit. So the question we get probably a dozen times a day is, now what is ROBS? So what ROBS stands for is the Rollover for Business Startup. It's a strategy that allows you to invest up to 100% of retirement into a business venture, all without experiencing any form of taxable event. The strategy provides liquidity for down payment needs and or allows you to shop with the most affordable capital, and that's both upfront and ongoing. Whether you want to buy an existing business, start one up from scratch, or grow one you have, ROBS could provide a significant part of your capital injection. And here's a look at how we get you there. So as a new ROBS client, the first task on our team will be to perform or set up a brand new C corporation for you as a client. This is a C corporation that's not controlled by Guidant. It's merely the first step in this process. So we go ahead and take that off your plate. Many people will ask why an LLC or an S Corp are not a fit for ROBS, and the easiest answer is that LLCs and S Corps just don't offer the right type of stock, and I'll show you more about that here. So now that you've got your new C corporation, Guidant will design a very specific 401k plan for that very C Corp. And at this point in the process, you've got an empty C Corp and you have an empty 401k plan. The individual or client will then be asked to transfer, or you'll probably hear the term roll over, the amount of retirement that you need for your transaction into this brand new 401k plan. Retirement funds that are excluded from the ROBS arrangement include a current employer 401k. So in other words, an employer you work for that you're not leaving, and that's where your 401k money is sitting, a Roth IRA, and an inherited IRA of any sort other than one from a previous spouse or marriage. Previous employer 401ks, 403bs, sort of saving plans, pensions, all perfectly eligible to roll money from and into this new 401k plan. Now that at this point, the 401k has capital to invest. So it can invest this capital into the stock market, or by design, it can invest the retirement funds into the C corporation, and in exchange for stock. So back to why a LLC and an S corp don't work. Only a C corporation can exchange the right type of stock back to that 401k. So now that the C corporation is funded, consider it cash rich. The 401k is not poor or broke. It holds shares of stock, again, in exchange for that cash. So the corporation can then purchase or start any desired franchise or business, just as you would with debt or after-tax dollars. Just keeping in mind that the retirement funds really can cover any costs for materials, build-out, lease of space, anything business related. Meanwhile, your corporation or your business or your franchise now has a 401k plan that will act just as 401k plans do, and also remain invested in the business as a shareholder. So to give you a quick example, because that always works better for me, if I wanted to purchase a Pinos pallet for $150,000, going all in, using $150,000 of my retirement, my corporation, prior to the purchase, would have $150,000 cash value, as shown in step 4 above. My 401k would have $150,000 in shares of stock. We'll call it $1 per stock. Once I've spent my $150,000, or my corporation has, on a Pinos pallet, my corporation now holds an asset with a value of $150 instead of a value of $150 in cash. My 401k value will continue to match my corporation's value, and my corporation's value is dependent on the success I have with Pinos pallet. Here's another sketch of the process, and just please pay close attention to the exit this diagram actually shows, because this is an important detail. At a later time, a franchisee or business owner will eventually reach a point where they're ready to call it quits. In other words, most likely sell the business. If the 401k plan funded the purchase in the first place, the 401k plan being the shareholder, it needs to be compensated for the value of those shares it allots back to the corporation when the business is in fact sold or dissolved. If the majority of the business is owned by the 401k, then the 401k gets the majority of that cash from the sale or liquidation. At the point of exit, there are still no taxes or penalties, regardless how much you grew your business and how much more you sold it for. Now, with anything, of course, there are requirements. An individual who's investing retirement funds must be, well, all individuals, I should say, investing retirement funds must be active at least part-time. They will need to draw compensation, a salary in other words, based on what the business revenue can actually afford to pay them. And the business must continue to operate under or as a C corporation just as long as the 401k plan remains a shareholder. So we can typically process the steps within 3 weeks. In my opinion, it's best to plan for a month. The earlier the better. We work with buyers that feel that they need fast access to their retirement. So if you prefer to be a cash buyer or plan on use retirement funds for training, business travel needs, et cetera, for the franchise, then we can get Rob set up in place before the business or franchise even has been identified. Early access to retirement is also very helpful if it's going to be the main source of an SBA loan. Okay, here. So I lost my spot. Hang on. Bear with me, guys. Okay. There we go. Okay, so there are 2 fees involved with setting up a ROPS transaction. There's an initial upfront setup fee just shy of $5,000, so $49.95. This includes all the hard costs associated with guidance completing each one of these steps. When we compare taxes and penalties and taking a distribution to the fee for guidance ROPS program, especially the setup fee, we would believe that a distribution would make more sense for a client if the client was looking to roll over less than $40,000. Just as a reminder, any of you with retirement that, again, is back to those eligible types of plans, you can roll over up to 100% of retirement if you choose to. Now, the second fee, second of 2, the ongoing fee is $119 per month. and that's if you choose to use Guidant for the ongoing record keeping of the 401k plan. It is very important to have a third-party administrator manage the plan. Just like any employer that we work for now, there is a separate outside company that will keep the plan in compliance. All right, so now choosing Guidant is one of the wiser choices for that, not only because we are the best at what we do, but because we are the only organization in the ROBS industry that has internal and external attorneys. We have a very robust audit protection program, a flawless track record with the IRS, and overall just very few clients that even have been audited, clients of ours that participated in a ROBS strategy. So moving on from that, I had mentioned ROBS was a common combination with SBA loans. The most common type of SBA loan is the 7A loan, which offers up to $5 million to get your business up and running, whether the funds are for a startup, acquisition, or expansion. SBA 7A loan can help you reach your goals with a 30% down payment requirement for startup. This can be a down payment that comes from cash or retirement or both. In addition to a strong credit score and income will, of course, be a determining factor. For existing transfers or acquisitions, the down payment requirement will be just north of 20%, if not at, with at least 2 years of healthy tax returns, which of course would need to be provided by the current franchisee or the seller. So for small business owners that are needing access to capital quickly, a simple SBA working capital loan could be more beneficial, which are loans that offer up to $150,000 and can close in as little as 45 days. So easy to move quickly with that. So now we do have a SBA guarantee for any individual that we assist with an SBA loan. Our packaging fee is $2,500. We will refund 100% of that packaging fee if we fail on delivery. Don't get your hopes up. We don't fail often, but it is something that we're willing to do, and that's work for free if we can't deliver. Now so an ideal candidate for SBA financing, as you'll see up here, a healthy credit score, of course, that 30% down payment, either cash, retirement, or both, and a household income as well. If there is any equity owned, in other words, any real estate with greater than 20% equity, other than in the state of Texas, banks will require that collateral play a part in the deal. So that's just something to expect. Now, we all know that financial institutions are hesitant to offer loans without that kind of collateral, a car, boat, property, whatever. The unsecured loans can provide up to $150,000 small business financing without personal collateral required. But this is more of a credit-based program, essentially a new, healthier stack of credit cards that can be used for any relatable business expenses and, if necessary, even personal. Some of the benefits are a quick processing time and then a low interest rate for the first 12 months. One of my personal favorites is the portfolio loan. They're becoming more and more common as far as collateral-based solutions. This option applies to someone with $85,000 or more in non-retirement stocks and investments, keyword non-retirement. So say you inherit $50,000 as a gifting from a grandparent or a parent. Not retirement, just a chunk of change, and you want to grow that. You put it in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and just a brokerage account that actually would allow you to borrow against it at a low interest rate, even lower than a home equity loan offers. Meanwhile, whatever investments that you had remain intact while the loan or line of credit is still able to pull from the value. So one really nice perk that our company offers is a quick and easy way for you, future candidates, to sort of self-screen in the initial stages of your search. This is really beneficial in identifying a reasonable price range for yourself at a glance. Once you have completed one of our pre-qualifications, whether it's on our website or through Blair, or anyone with any franchisor you even come across may have a Guidant pre-qual tool. This will immediately deliver information on the potential solutions that that we've identified on a more calculated basis, and then we offer a one-on-one consultation with one of our finance experts here at Guidance. So it's really beneficial, especially as you get closer to needing your capital. So here's a recap of the options that we've discussed today, and I really like this slide because it really more clearly lays out both timing and ongoing expenses with each option. Timing we know is very important, but it's also when you stack one or two different options, or two or three different options, such as the SBA loan using ROBS as a down payment and a home equity loan on top of it. They all have very different timings, and we want to make sure that these options work parallel to one another. So here's another great visual in terms of monthly payment, but also including interest. SBA loans range from a 7 to 10 year as far as term-wise, but like a home equity line of credit, an SBA loan actually can be off or paid off earlier without any early payoff penalties. So now the rollover for business startups clearly are the most affordable long and or short-term solution, which is why we see a tremendous increase in the number of ROBS transactions that we set up for new businesses on a monthly basis. I believe around this time last year, we had set up 150 rollover transactions all in 1 month. So they're definitely becoming quite the popular trend, I guess you could say. Now, timelines, as you take a closer look for each one of these programs, it's sort of a race between portfolio loans and ROBS, simply because neither option involves any debt. SBA loans, of course, will take the longest because of the government backing aspect, first going through the lender, getting the government's approvals to back the loan, and then fitting the pieces together. But we'll certainly cut, if not more, than half the timeline than working independently or directly with your local bank. And as I mentioned, I believe earlier, if any of you have questions, I'll make sure that you have my contact information. And if you'd like a copy of this deck, I'm more than happy to provide one. So thanks again for everyone's time. Blair, over to you.
You got it. BGs, looks like there's a couple more slides if you want to go through them, or do you want me to just fast forward to the end of your slides?
I'm not a huge fan of the last three, I'll be honest, but I can definitely run through them.
That's all right. We'll just fast forward to it. Bear with me till I find the next one. Okay. So, and we'll open up the lines here for a minute for any types of questions, whether it be, again, for me and just franchising questions in general, or for BGs if you have specific financing questions. So let me just wrap up this part of the webinar. So a little bit more about FranNet. So our job, again, is to help you find the right fit for a franchise for you. Like I mentioned earlier, our clients will usually look at multiple franchises at any given point in time. We'll coach you not only on which franchise could be the best fit for you, but also through the entire research process. We're also going to get you in contact with franchise attorneys, CPAs that specialize in franchising, and obviously the finance companies like Guidance that'll help you with the financing of your franchise as well. So think of us as kind of a coach and mentor to help you kind of get through this whole process, because we fully acknowledge that most people have never done this before. It's kind of an overwhelming, arduous task to try to figure out, one, do I even want to be in business? Two, how do I find the right business for myself? And three, how do I make sure I'm making a safe and wise decision? So that's why we are here, and that's what we do to help. So we'll help you find the right fit, and then, like I said, we'll help you go through the entire research process. And the way that we do that is, if you haven't done so already, every single one of you will get an email with what we call your personal franchise assessment tool. It's an online assessment tool that'll help both you and I determine a few things. It'll help us determine, one, should you even be considering business or franchise ownership, period. Two, if you should be or can be, what are going to be the types of franchises that are going to be the best fit for you? It won't tell you specific names yet, but it'll tell you the types of franchises that are going to be the best fit for you based on who you are, your background, your personality styles, your skill sets, your finances, what have you. That assessment tool will route to your local FranNet consultant, who will then reach out to you. They'll set up a time to meet with you and start helping you build a business model in conjunction with that assessment. And that'll tell us what specific franchises that you should be researching. Then we'll help you interview those franchisors. We'll help you go through the whole research process by talking to the franchisees which is what we call the validation stage, which is actually the most important part of this whole research process, is actually talking to the franchisees that have already made the decision, and they'll tell you what it's like, how they would do it again, would they do it again, how much money you can make, how's the support of the franchisor. They may even share with you how they finance their business. So it's just a good, unbiased way of doing the research, and again, we'll coach you through that whole process. And then the final step is going to visit the franchisor. And that's kind of what we call a discovery day. It's where you get to go meet the company in person, meet the executive team of the company, maybe even see a few locations or meet some franchisees in the local area. And that's kind of the time frame where you'll know whether you want to get married to that franchisor or not. So kind of think of this researching franchises as kind of a dating period, really. And you're trying to figure out, hey, of all these franchises that I'm dating over the next 2 to 3 months, is there any of them that I want to get married to? Now, what I would highly suggest is in between doing the assessment and meeting with your local FranNet consultant, I would reach out to companies like Guidant Financial to get pre-qualified to see, hey, what type of financing methodology is going to be the right way for you. Think of it kind of like buying a house. Before you go out there and buy a house, you usually get pre-qualified by a bank to see how much house can you properly afford. Well, we'll want to do the same thing here. So know that we have people all the time that come to us and they say, I wish I would have, could have. I've always had this dream of wanting to be in my own business, but they never actually do anything about it. So if you don't have a dream that you're working for, then you're probably helping somebody else achieve their dream. And I think that's the God honest truth. So if this is something that you really want to consider, know that companies like FranNet and Guidant Financial are out here to help you out. And like I said, some of you may already be in process with your local FranNet rep or even possibly with Guidant. And if so, great, you're off and running. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unmute all the lines. And if there are any questions, feel free to ask, whether it's me, Blair, with FranNet, or BG's with Guidant Financial for financing. So the lines are open. So any questions that you may have, ask away. Any questions? Here's a question for you, BG's, that came in via text. What is the most popular way of financing right now?
Well, Rob's, of course. The rollover really is becoming more and more, more and more awareness of it. And so here at Guidant, I would have to say that we get more inquiries. How can I use my retirement funds for my business? What else can I do in addition to that? I'd say that on a debt basis, SBA is always going to be something people, lean towards first. But I guess, as far as what's the most popular, SBA and rollover programs, by all means. But I'd say that's where we do about 80% of our business is with those two, and then about 60% of that 80% would be with rollover for business startups.
Okay, great. There's a couple other questions that have come in. Let's see. Tom Dempsey asks, how much wiggle room do you have with a franchise on the initial buy-in? I missed the first 10 minutes today, so sorry if you already covered this. Tom, the lines are open. I'm not sure what you mean by wiggle room, if you want to ask. Tom, if you're on the line. So usually, I think I know what you're meaning there, Tom. Usually what we see is, let's say that a franchise costs about $150,000 total cost to purchase that business and open it, with working capital, equipment, training fees, franchise fees, everything. So it's kind of what we call the turnkey cost. Usually what we like to see on our side is that of the $150,000, you have about $50,000 of that be your money. And then usually you can go to a company like Guidant and get the remaining $100,000 in some form or fashion. Would you say that would work well for Guidant as well, BG's?
Yes.
Okay, great. Mel Hill asks, what's the best way to connect with FranNet? Mel, feel free to contact me directly. I'll see where you are at, and then I'll make a personal introduction for you. you can reach out to me on my cell phone number at 760-473-4342. Or to shoot me an email directly at bnickel@frannet.com, and I'll make sure that the introduction is taken care of for you, Mel. Another question came in, BG's, for you. I see that it says, Guidance Financial is based in Seattle, Washington. If I live in California, are you able to help?
Yeah, absolutely. All 50 states. Yep.
Great. All right. Any other questions? Again, the lines are open. Feel free just to ask. One more. Is this webinar still going? I can't seem to hear anything. Yep, it's still going. So everybody will get a recording of this webinar, not only the audio but also the slides. And I think that answered your question as well, Mil. All right. BG's, any departing comments?
No, just thank you again for letting me play a part today. And yeah, we certainly appreciate working with you, Blair, and and everybody that you work with. So thanks again.
You got it. If people want
I have
to
a quick
reach out to you
question.
direct, oh, go right ahead.
Sorry, I came in late on the conversation, but my name is Kathy, and I'm interested in opening a franchise. I know the first step is like finding your passion and then finding the franchise. The second step is probably looking if it's doable in your area or where you want to open it, but also looking at their financials. How do you get a hold of their financials?
The financials of the franchise that you're researching?
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. So if it is a new unit that you're going to open up in your area, there's a couple different ways you can get the financial performance on a particular franchise.
Okay.
When you research a franchise, one of the documents that you will get from a franchisor is what's called a franchise disclosure document. So you'll hear the term FDD quite often.
Okay.
About half of franchisors in their FDDs provide what's called an Item 19 or an earnings claim, where in some form or fashion they'll tell you the financial performance of their franchises. Okay?
Okay.
Assuming, let's just say that they do, or actually let's just say that they don't provide an Item 19 because they don't have to. Where you will get the financial performance of how their franchises perform is actually talking to the individual franchisees. So the individual franchisees are the ones that you should really ask that question of. So in that disclosure document that you're given, you will be given a list of every single one of that company's franchisees, their names, addresses, and phone numbers, as well as any franchisees that have sold, broken down by state, as well as any franchisees that have failed, broken down by state. So you are free to contact any of the franchisees, and the franchisees are really the ones that will answer the financial questions. Now, some franchisees will be more open about finances than others. So that's why in our research process that we coach our clients with, we're going to suggest that you talk to a bunch, and we'll also provide you a number of questions to ask the franchisees. Because obviously that's one of the biggest questions people have is, how much money can I make? Usually one of the first questions people have, so that's how it goes.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then is there sort of a roadmap that you guys teach in terms of like the steps, to go through? I mean, just because I'm flying blind here. This is the first time I'm ever doing this.
Absolutely. So there is a document that we provide all of our clients it's literally called the Roadmap to Success. And it provides kind of all the steps that we're going to go through to help you in finding the right franchise and researching the franchises. And then, of course, your local FranNet consultant will work with you one-on-one, be in contact with you weekly, coaching you through the whole process so that you can make a safe and wise decision. And your decision may end up being not to do it. That's perfectly fine. But at least you researched it.
Okay. And do you know of any, not trade shows, but like something coming through where you can explore different franchises all in one place?
Whereabouts are you located?
I'm in Studio City, California.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're lucky. So it's usually it's either October or November. There's what's called the West Coast International Franchise Exposition. It's been a couple years since I've been, but it was over by the Convention Center by Staples Center. and it usually happens October, November-ish. It's the largest franchise trade show on the West Coast. Now, having said that, I've been to it multiple times. We've had tons of clients go to it, and usually the comments we get back is there's kind of junky businesses. In other words, the good quality franchisors aren't there, and I would generally agree with that. Now, it'll kind of help you. There will be 100, 150 different companies there, but that's out of a sea of about 3,500 different franchises. So by no means is that all the companies or franchises there. It's just whoever decided to go. But that's the biggest one, and it's in your backyard.
And in your background, have you opened a franchise?
Oh yeah, I've opened many. I've not only been a master franchisee, I've been a multi-unit franchisee. I'm a franchisor. I've worn every single possible hat you can within franchising.
And in terms of how you got started, was it just like finding your passion and then knowing, what kind of business and to see if they franchise that particular company?
Yep.
Okay. Because I have an idea of what I want. It's just a matter of, researching it.
Yes, and so I have an associate right there in Los Angeles who can meet with you in person. His name is Kenny Rose. So if you look on our website, just look at Kenny Rose, or if you contact me directly, I can get you in contact with Kenny. So he's right there over by LAX.
Okay, and then does it talk about your fees, what you charge in terms of consults and whatnot?
So we do not charge any fees to our clients. We are paid by the franchisors.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So if I were to pick his brain about a franchise, a company that's out here, but not really in my area, so there'd be an opportunity, he might have some information on them, or he might know.
Yes, that's correct. He'll be able to meet with you in person. He'll know Studio City better, even though I know Studio City well. He'll be able to know exactly what's available in that area. What are the trends? What's going on? But more importantly, what's going to be the better fit for you?
Okay. All right. Yeah, I would love to get his information. So just look on the website.
Yes, his name is Kenny Rose.
Okay, and then as far as the staff from today's meeting, I started on my cell phone, and then I finally got online. Is there any way that could be sent to me, or I can get access to that?
So everybody will be given a copy or recording of this webinar as well as the slides.
Oh, great. Okay. Wonderful.
Okay.
All right. Well,
and
I
then
really
somebody.
appreciate the time.
Yep. You got it. And somebody else asked a question. When will the next webinar on unpacking my FranNet package be? I don't know off the top of my head. But if you look, Kelly James is on the line. Kelly, if you can make a note to reach out to Ann Becerra de la Cruz. She is wondering when that date is. So I'll make sure that Kelly James gets you that date. All right. We are at 12:45, so I promised to end it right around 12:45. Oh, one thing, BG, do you want to give everybody your contact information if they have any questions?
Absolutely. You want me to provide that verbally or send it over?
Yeah, just give it. Yep, just give it verbally.
Sure. So my direct line is 425-326-4600. And then my email is my first name, BG's, spelled just like the band, BEEGEES .Hebert, HEB as in boy, ERT, @guidancefinancial.com.
Great. And again, mine is Blair Nickel. My direct cell phone line is area code 760-473-4342. That is a Southern California number, but I live in Bend, Oregon. But I oversee Southern California and the Pacific Northwest for FranNet. And if you want to email me, you can email me at bnicol, BNICOL, @FranNet, FRANNET.com. Other than that, thanks everybody for your time, and enjoy the rest of your week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you. Please stand by.